Okay, so the first thing is when working with old storm damage, it's remembering that the environment is different, right? You're going to have different objections right now than you would normally have because when a storm is fresh and it's just happened, there's a lot more like belief and understanding and there's more relevance. Does that make sense? So now, in a period like this, what kind of objections do you guys think you're likely to get because the storm is old? Any guesses?
Well, most of them aren't even going to realize they had possible storm damage because they're not going to remember the moderate hail. I mean, we're basically going to be creating a storm, probably, so to speak. That is.
Yep. What we're dealing with right now is customers, like the relevance and the concern level that they would normally have is much lower than right after a storm happens. So it's your job as the salesperson right now to predict the objections you're likely to get, and it's your job to actually rekindle their concern. So you're going to do that through reminding them of information, reminding them and proving with evidence that there's actually damage out here, right? And then creating urgency. If there's one thing you guys take away from this whole thing today, it's remembering to create urgency. So when you're going up to people's houses right now, are you guys door knocking?
No.
You're not door knocking. Okay, what are you doing?
We generally get all our leads online with between online, radio, and now we're going to try some postcards.
Okay, and you're getting a lot of leads through mailers and stuff like that?
Mailers we're just starting to try. I mean, we've never had an issue generating enough leads before, just with radio and online.
So are you having good luck right now working an old storm situation with online and radio ads?
We haven't really started. I mean, last year we had great luck, yeah, but it was a fresh storm.
Right.
This year we really haven't started because of, we just got a bunch of snow too. Sunday we had 8 inches of snow that fell. And it's just with this COVID crap, it's just kind of a slow start.
Right. Yeah, that's the wrench in the whole situation right now. As things are kind of weird. Are you working referrals?
Door to door is actually illegal right now. We're not even allowed to do it from what I've been told.
Okay. So then if I start to talk about door knocking, it's just a habit. So you can replace that with if you're on the phone or if you go and talk to a referral or whatever. But generally speaking right now, like what I would predict to have happen is it might be a little bit harder to get people to pick up the phone and call you because of the reasons we just talked about. I'm not saying that's not going to work, but you're not going to get the same type of urgency and concern like you would when a storm just freshly happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you do get somebody either on the phone or you're talking to a referral or something like that, what we want to do is remind them of what happened. So it's like, Mrs. Jones, I'm glad that you called. Obviously, the storm kind of happened almost a year ago now, so we're kind of coming up on the end of the storm date, and after winter takes place, and people sort of forget about this stuff, but the issue is, like, insurance claims only have a 365-day window. So the storm happened last spring, whatever the date is, and so we're kind of trying to just clean up, make sure nobody's getting left behind here, so that they can make sure that it's better safe than sorry. You might not even have damage. We don't know. But without doing an inspection and without finding out before an adjuster can come out, like, we just need to know to make sure. And because we've had so many neighbors in your area, Kim and John, we had the Marshalls, the Johnsons had damage. It's better to take a look at it just in case. And if you don't have any damage, I'll let you know, like, there's nothing to worry about. But if you do, we've got kind of a narrow window here right now to get an adjuster out there, get it approved, and actually get it replaced. So would this time or this time work better for you for me to come out and check it out? So we want to not overdo the fear factor, okay? But we want to kind of light a fire under their ass because time is of the essence with these situations, right? And even if their insurance company doesn't have a 365-day window, most of them do have something like that. There's different versions of it now. There's from the date of discovery, how much time you have to get it resolved and stuff like that. But you can also talk about, like, look, if you did have storm damage from that storm back in, when was it?
June 4th.
June 4th?
Of last year.
Okay, perfect. So you're like, If you do have damage from that storm back in June, that means that it's already gone through a whole hot and humid summer, baking through June, July, August, into September. We've gone through winter now with freezing and thawing and 2 feet of snow and then freezing and thawing. So we just want to make sure we're mitigating any potential damage if you do have hail damage up there. Hail damage is kind of tricky. It's not like, if you're down in Florida and a hurricane blows through, shingles just fly off the roof and you go, oh yeah, I have damage. It's quite obvious and we probably have leaks right away. Hail damage isn't really like that. And if you guys have listened to my stuff, you hear me talk about the bruise, but this just helps it click in people's heads. Mrs. Jones, if you punch me in the shoulder right now, and please don't, but if you did, it's going to hurt, but it's not going to show up on my arm for several days, right? A bruise isn't going to appear for several days. Shingles are kind of the same. When hail hits your shingles, it bruises them, for lack of better terms, and it loosens those granules on that asphalt. But it takes a while of weather and wind and sun and freezing and thawing and all that stuff to kind of erode off those granules. And by the time that happens, now you finally, it could take weeks, months, sometimes it takes over a year. But now you've got these spots all over your roof where the asphalt, thin little layer of asphalt shingle is exposed to the sun. Then you can start getting leaks. That's why it's so important to have an inspection. And we're not going to tell you have damage if you don't, because we strictly do insurance claims. So if there's nothing up there, you're just going to get you're good from me and don't worry about it. But if you do have damage, just like your neighbors, Kim and John, I'm going to come down, show you pictures of what's actually going on up there, and then sit you down and tell you what we can do to help you out. So it's just getting people's wheels turning and creating relevancy and urgency right now. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep, completely.
So what are you guys running into? Have you been, since winter has occurred, have you been trying to work this June 4th storm yet? And if so, what are you running into? Let's talk about that.
Well, I would say more or less that a lot of people just really don't seem to care. The ones that took care of it last year got off their ass right away and called their insurance, and we showed up and they showed us their paperwork and we did the work. I think a lot of what I'm trying to do is feed off of that with referrals, neighbors and whatnot. But I don't think we're getting calls coming into the office like we should be having.
Well, that's just not going to happen. Here's the reason. You guys are doing storm restoration. Okay, if you're doing retail roofing sales, think about it. If somebody looks at the roof and they go, you know what? I need a new roof and I'd like to make it blue, right? I just want a new roof. What are they going to do? What's the first thing they're going to do? Tell me.
They're going to look for a local contractor.
Bingo. They're going to look you up because they're shopping, right? But if somebody has a 12-year-old roof, hail hits it, what do? They go out in their driveway and they look at their Escalade and they go, oh shit. But do they call about the roof most of the time?
No.
They should.
Well, they don't. They don't. And you know why? Because hail damage is not obvious. And it doesn't cause immediate leaks. It's not like lightning hitting their house and blowing a hole through the roof, is it?
Right.
So they're not shopping. This isn't a shopping experience. So if you guys are sitting around waiting for the phone to ring in storm restoration, you're going to have a bad time. It's just, that's why door knocking is so incredibly fruitful in this business, because there's nothing that a radio ad, a mailer, or a Facebook ad can do or say that can create value, create need, create urgency, and handle the slew of objections that people have, whether you realize it or not, whether they vocalize it or not. There's so many objections. I don't think I have damage. I already have a roofer. My husband can take a look at it. My roof is not very old, right? So if you're waiting for people to overcome all of those objections on their own and pick up the phone and call you, especially for a storm that happened a year ago, it ain't going to happen.
So what do you recommend right now since we can't door knock?
Well, since you can't door knock, I would hammer referrals right now. Like you guys, Brent, you've been in business for so long. I would get a hail swath for these storms, okay? And I would get, you've probably got a huge database of your old customers. So start tracking. Okay, this is the storm area. Here are all of our old customers. First of all, do inspections for your old customers. Second of all, call them up and be like, hey, Mrs. Jones, first of all, check in on them genuinely. How are you guys doing? I know this is a weird situation. And if you remember specifics about their husband or wife's name or their kids or their jobs or whatever, if you know that somebody managed a restaurant, check in with them. Be like, how are you guys doing? You know, are you able to work? How are you adapting your business model, right? So that's going to allow you to segue into how you're adapting your business model. Offer them something. If you can help them, be like, hey, by the way, especially your elderly customers, guys, we're always out in the neighborhoods. Like if you need somebody to go pick something up, like a prescription or groceries or something, like seriously, don't hesitate. We're always out there in the neighborhoods in our truck. Like we work out there. So if you need me to drop something off, like let me know. And then just segue into a referral approach. So Mrs. Jones, as you can understand and as you see, you know, it's kind of weird to work right now, right? Like we're all in the United States here, really worldwide, trying to still pay our bills and let our businesses run and figure out how to adapt our regular business processes. Here at Allcraft, we don't really feel that it's socially responsible to be going around knocking on people's doors, but there's still hundreds of thousands of people who have damage to their most prized assets from that storm in June, and we've got to take care of these people. So we're coming up with different ways to be able to do that. I'm not going to be going out and knocking doors, but let me show you a hail swath. Text it to them. Check that out. See that whole area in the orange? That whole area got hit with like inch to inch and a half hail. It was pretty significant. It's bigger than the hail that hit your house, okay? Or just say whatever you need to say or whatever's true, okay? And say, I really want to help these people out, but I want to do it within the confines of social distancing. Who do you know? I've got a $15 or $20 Target or Amazon. You should do Amazon right now because everybody has to order shit online, okay? Who do you know that lives in those areas? I got a gift card right here for you. I can text it over. Just think of 2 people who might have not had a free inspection yet. Get that name and number. Give them the gift card. And by the way, if they do it really quickly, be like, wow, Mrs. Jones, that was almost too easy. Tell you what, I got another gift card here if you think of 2 more. This approach works so well. Do that. And then start accruing a massive list of referrals. And then you can call these referrals and be like, hey, I'm really sorry to bother you. But Mrs. Jones actually had me give you a call. She lives over on such and such. My name's Brent. I actually did her roof last year. She's pretty excited. She basically got an extreme makeover home edition on her house for like pennies on the dollar because hail hit her house and she felt like she hit the jackpot. Well, anyways, that storm happened June 4th and we're coming up here pretty quickly on the end of that claim period. And we know there's a lot of people that just didn't assume they didn't have damage because they didn't get leaks. That's just not really how hail damage works. So I'm making sure we're kind of cleaning up the last areas of the neighborhood. We got a hail swath here that kind of shows where the biggest damage was and your house is smack dab in it. Text a picture over. Everybody's on their phone, okay? Be like, we're going to be doing free inspections in this area. We're doing no contact inspections. There's no catch. If I go over, hop on your roof and I don't see any damage, nothing happens. You're good to go. If I do find damage, just like I saw in Mrs. Jones's house, I'll take pictures, come down, and I'll let you know what I can do to help you out. We can hop on a Zoom or FaceTime or something like that. You never have to smell my armpits the whole time. But anything else? Any last minute questions?
I think that went well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
For sure. And you guys, I want you to know, I know this is a weird time to be working and it does seem challenging, but instead of taking like well, what are we supposed to do mentality, like really just take this as an opportunity to be creative and find a way. Like, don't let it get you down. Focus on what you can do and just get creative and be okay with, you know what? We might have to work 5 times as hard right now this year to do what we would normally do. That's just the breaks, right? Those are just the circumstances. But don't let that be an excuse to why you just lay back and don't work. Just be okay with busting your ass right now. You just have to. Like that's the reality.